Rahul Ram. Welcome to the channel Kahanis Golden Bytes. Thank you for taking your time to be on the channel, Rahul.
Thank you, Joby. It's a pleasure. And for everybody, I must say that Joby and I go back more than 40 years.
Yeah.
50 years, I would say, actually, by this time.
Close to that.
Yeah. We were together in school at St. Xavier's, Delhi, and have been vaguely in touch through school-related stuff. I think we've met a couple of times at reunions and things like that.
True.
But I don't know his life story, to tell you the truth. I don't know what he did. I don't know what happened to him.
Sure.
And I'm so glad that we are having a chat here. And to introduce myself, my name is Rahul Ram, and think of myself primarily as a musician. I play with a band called Indian Ocean. I've been a part of Indian Ocean now for 31 years. And in the last few years, I've also been part of a stand-up comedy satirical show called Aisi, Taisi Democracy, which takes a look at our politics and our social issues in the country with a satirical, humorous look, which I'm enjoying a lot. Apart from that, I think of myself as an environmentalist. And yes, I think that's enough. That's enough to go on. Yeah.
So Rahul, thanks for that once again. So Rahul, you said musician, founded the Indian Ocean band.
No, I didn't found it. I
the founding member.
No, not really.
So okay.
So let's get this clear. I joined Indian Ocean a year after it was made. So I'm neither a founding member, but I am the sole remaining person from 1991 who's now in Indian Ocean.
Okay. Wonderful. So Rahul, you've been a musician and music is in your blood. So you started early school days, Rahul?
Yeah, actually, I was one of those kids who was asked to stand up and sing a song when there was an empty period. And I remember I used to sing, Chal, 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 mere hathi, oh, mere sathi, chal, le, chal, khatara, etc. So you can date me by that song. And the other thing is that Xavier's was a place where music was encouraged a lot. I had schoolmates and classmates who were great musicians, who were very good musicians, and I wanted to learn music, and that was a lot of what helped me start music. I took my first guitar lessons from the famous Mr. Basil Miranda in one summer, I forget when I was in class 8 or something. Okay. And from then I've been playing music. I never thought I'll become a musician, actually. I was all set to be an academic, and then somehow life intervened.
So Rahul, you started learning the guitar in 8th. You played, the electric guitar. You were into inter-school competitions, part of the school band. So let me use the next part of the stereotype. You were a backbencher, Rahul. You mentioned academic in the middle.
Oh, yeah. No. I was not. I was a front bencher. Actually, I was very short. I'm still short. And they used to put the short guys in the front bench by and large, except for a few inveterate guys who used to manage to make it to the back bench in spite of being short. And no, I would say I was reasonable in studies. Not great, but reasonable. I was the kind of guy who would come 7th out of a class of 45, if that. So that means top 20 percentile, okay, which is okay.
Absolutely.
But things started, I started getting better and better as, so when I went to college, my batch had 15 merit listers in class 12. I was not one of them, I assure you.
This is the All India merit list, All India
CBSE merit list. Yeah. I was not even close to being one of them. And then in college, I did chemistry and I did quite well. And I think I came 3rd or 4th in the university. And then I went to IIT Kanpur and studied my master's in chemistry, very small batch, etc.
So hold on. So Rahul, you're not a backbencher. You actually went to college. You come 3rd in the university, and you go to IIT you furthered chemistry. It's chemistry you're talking about. It's not, philosophy. I don't say philosophy from a try to mock the people who are studying that. That's a deep field in itself. But chemistry, that's So hold on, so chemistry, and you did your
Padhaku
college.
tha, padhaku, padhaku.
Yeah, I'm trying to absorb that. I'm trying to, absorb that, Rahul. So you did your graduation from Stevens.
Yeah.
And then you went to?
I went to IIT Kanpur, did my master's, 2-year master's in chemistry from there. And then, like most IITians, I went abroad. I went to the US to do my PhD. And I went to Cornell University. And I applied to 8 universities. And I got into 6 with scholarships. And I chose Cornell because the 2 things. One, the faculty member with whom I was talking seemed to be doing very interesting work. And 2, my parents were both at Cornell doing their postdoctoral studies way back in 1960 and 59. And so I thought it would be great to go to a place I've heard so much about, but never seen.
Super. So Rahul, PhD. Now, I'm reminded of, the band member, the lead guitarist of Queen, Brian May, who did his PhD in astrophysics. Now, that's something I've read about. Sounds fictional, but here I am speaking to someone who's pretty much done the same thing. PhD, oh God. So this is chemistry. So you're supposed to be a backbencher with the guitar, music, and all along, you were playing music in your college days, right? You were on every college festival and in the rock scene.
Yeah. I was really into it, and it was quite a life because, chemistry means you have classes till 3:30 every day. So I used to, or 3:20, I used to run out of college, get the U special, go all the way to Dholakua, practice with my band, and come back home around 9:30, 10 at night, and then study a little bit, have dinner, and go to sleep, and repeat and refresh and repeat. It's like.
So Rahul, this is just throwing the stereotype out. Someone who's generally, perceived as a lover of music, I'm not sure if they're disconnected with academics, or the perception is that, academics and music cannot go together. And here you are hitting the ball out of the park.
Yeah, but then see, remember when I was at IIT Kanpur, we had a whole band. We had 2 or 3 bands. There were a lot of musicians there. So the IITs are full of people who do music and who love doing music and who sing well. And this is true everywhere. Even at Cornell University, there were people who were musicians. And, one of my batchmates at one of my guys in my department when I was doing my PhD, he used to have a jazz band. And so all kinds. There are everything. Everybody is everywhere.
So music and academics can actually go hand in hand. You've lived it, and you're saying that there are others you know of who've kind of lived that.
Yeah, the stereotype of musicians, I think, comes from that hippie era of the 60s. Otherwise, Indian classical musicians were all supposed to be vidwans and have learned. And because when you do classical, you imbibe a lot of the philosophy that goes with, and then you do a lot of theology and you learn history. You also learn the source behind all the thinking, the Advaita philosophy. You learn lots of things.
Yes.
And so do Western classical musicians, I'm sure.
Yes.
And so musicians are backbenchers, I think, is limited to the rock and roll guys who were like, hey, we don't give a damn. It's not that they were not smart. They just probably didn't care enough.
True. And you were in the rock scene. So, you were pretty much in the rock scene. You've been experimenting, with your music. It's not, you were into the pure classical in the sense that, you were in the thick of all festivals and rock scenes and, the crowd drawing performances, Rahul, right throughout, right? And
yeah, except that is in college. But when I went to IIT Kanpur, there was no rock scene, as you can imagine. I used to play with the bands on campus, and I used to go off to festivals and all that. And then when I went to Cornell, again, music took a backseat because I didn't know who to play with. It's a very different thing to come into a new country completely and to search for people to play with. Plus, I was having a great time doing my PhD. I'm telling you, I enjoyed myself.
So Rahul, let me talk about what about parental pressure. There were academics you mentioned, and they had studied in Cornell, and how did that your music relate with them? They were okay with that because
Oh yeah, my father himself knew and was very, very fond of music. He knew both Hindustani and Carnatic classical. In fact, his father, my grandfather, was a composer of Carnatic classical music. In fact, M.S. Lakshmi has sung a whole CD of his compositions.
oh,
And so music was never looked down upon in my family. And the thing is that here, I think I need to make a point that I had a huge safety net. I had a PhD from Cornell, man. So it's okay if I go and do music and I fail at it, I'm not going to be hungry. So I think safety net is important in these things. I get asked by a lot of young people, I want to do music. My parents are forcing me to go to college. I'm like, get a degree, man. Get a degree. It helps. And in the meanwhile, my dogs have started barking. I have a feeling that we are going to get interrupted by a storm of barking because fridge kharab ho gaya hai. Ye dekho. The fridge has gone bad. The repairman is coming and I cannot function without a fridge because I just had twins 6 months ago.
oh, congratulations, Rahul. Yeah.
At the age of 58, I don't think that's a matter of congratulations. It's more
family,
commiseration,
family.
commiseration and sympathies.
I'm sure you're enjoying it. I'm sure you're enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're very cute. Yeah. They're both girls. And
oh, lovely, Rahul. Yeah.
Anarkali. Yeah. One of my dogs is called Anarkali.
Anarkali. Wow. So you have a number of dogs you live with, right?
They're all street dogs, actually. They're street
Oh.
dogs. They're rescues of various sorts. Somebody came under a motorcycle. Somebody was thrown out on the road. Various such street dogs. I found their home in my house.
Amazing.
Thanks to my wife, actually.
Amazing.
I have a harder heart. She has a softer heart. And yeah.
That's lovely. So Rahul, so the youngsters, you do tell them, from what I heard, you do tell them that, get an education when you can, if you can, right?
Yeah.
And music.
And I also say that young people can, do a lot of things. Young people have the ability to multitask. Like when I was young, I was studying, I was practicing my music. I was part of a environmental students group, which, so that's how I became an environmentalist. And I learned a lot by talking to other young people like that. And which is why actually I went to Cornell to do environmental toxicology to, further my environmental side rather than just the chemistry. Having got the hard science background, it was time to apply it, I felt, to issues to deal with pollution and such like. And so I tell young people, get a degree because it will help you in the long term. Plus, things like music, all the arts are a little chancy careers. Even sports, for example,
Yes.
you're a great sports person and suddenly one day you break your ankle.
Yeah.
End of story.
True.
Then what are you going to do? Right?
True.
So I'm the kind of musician who's not this mad, lost in the clouds artist. No, I'm grounded, and I know that one must have insurance.
So Rahul, you've done your PhD in the environmental space, and there's a lot that's happening right across. At least in the news that we see, there's drought, there's fire, there is flooding, everything happening. So what's your take? Any take or any views on that, Rahul? I mean, just given your background a little bit.
Yes, I every one of us need to think very, very deeply about this whole climate change business. It's for real. And we need to think about what sort of world are we leaving for our children. We guys have reaped all the benefits of this, blind commercialization and blind consumption. And we are really facing the consequences of that. We have thought that humans can dominate nature. We are now learning that, no, actually you can't. And unless we all strive to do something about it, and in my case, it means less consumption, consume less. And that's what an individual can do. And of course, I will sing songs about it and try and convince people about it. And every time I talk to young people, I say, sorry for what we've done to you, but you guys better take this seriously. Otherwise, it's going to be a really, really tough ask on all of humanity. Just 20 to 30 years from now, it's going to be, as you've mentioned, you've seen the huge extremes in weather
Yeah.
magnifying every year. That's what's going to happen. Unfortunately, people say, oh, global warming, but it's a cold winter. That's not the point. I don't think they get the connection between the average temperature of the globe rising and how it is throwing a whole system out of what we call homeostasis, what was the established system. And that's going to result in disaster.
Yeah.
So think about it, guys. Take it serious.
Lots of fights about water, food already beginning to, create stress in a lot of places, right, Rahul?
Yeah. And water, and plus my big thing is that agriculture. If you're a farmer and want to grow a crop, you need to have 3 months of assured weather minimum. If you lose that, the individual farmer is going to be left nowhere. And our country, especially where so much of the population depends on farming, is going to have a very, very, very tough time. Temperatures in Central and South Asia, India are going to cross 50 degrees on a normal basis in the summers. It's going to be very tough to live there. You're going to see environmental refugees, and you're going to see unfortunately, what will then happen is that corporate farming will take over, because a corporate can own farms in about 10 different geographic regions. And if 5 fail, at least they'll produce on the other 5. For an individual farmer, that's not even possible. So where are all these people going to go? And how are we going to deal with it? And this is something that everybody needs to think about. Yet at the same time, we are still cutting forests. We are still, wasting water. We're doing all kinds. It seems that humanity has not learned that, hey, guys, this is how it happened. Don't do more of the same. And a tech fix is not going to solve this. Yeah, you can make energy from water, hydrogen cell fuels and all. Everything is fine. But if the weather is going to go crazy, then what's going to happen? That's what I think we need to think about.
So Rahul, now with, the last 2 years, COVID, playing spoil sport.
Yeah.
So that's, thrown off a lot of things, right, Rahul? So, keeping yourself busy in spite of that, Rahul?
Yeah, COVID, to me, Joby, strangely, personally, not, a lot of people suffered, but I got a break from touring. I've been touring non-stop for so many years. And, the older you get, the prospect of getting up at 3:30 to take a flight is less and less attractive. So I actually didn't mind spending a lot of time at home, not traveling. Yes, my income dropped 80%, and that has been true for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
But because I was reasonably successful as a musician, I had a buffer. And so I've come through that. We restarted doing shows, and we got a lot of composition work actually during the lockdown and the COVID period. Yeah. So some money came in from there. And it was fun to sit and compose without the pressure of having to get up and do a show the next day. And the other thing I learned is when in COVID, we started doing virtual concerts. Now, virtual concerts, I think, are here to stay, because Indian Ocean can reach a certain number of people doing live shows. But with virtual shows, I can reach anybody. That's one. The other thing is, when I'm playing in a studio with my whole band, set up to, give good sound out, I can actually hear my band and myself much better, because the other distractions of the audience and the PA and the wind and the heat and all that is gone. So the number of variables is reduced drastically. So I actually think we end up playing better. Better musically, maybe not better as far as the audience is concerned, but better musically. And the other thing is that every single one of the audience gets a front row view.
Wow, absolutely. That's true, so true. So meta, and this is what they're talking about in metaverse and things, right, Rahul? It's going to begin to change, and this is here to stay, like you said, right?
I think it's here to stay. Yes, I mean, I think both will happen. So people will get the excitement of going and watching somebody live, yet they will be able to watch top-class music acts from all over the world in the comfort of their homes They can invite their friends, have a party, put it up on the big screen, and it'll be like a personal concert, you know. It's like, I give the analogy of watching cricket at home and watching cricket in the stadium. The stadium has an excitement, but you watch better cricket at home. You actually see the ball spin, you see the ball swing, you see those things which you cannot see when you're sitting in a stadium, 100 yards away from the action.
Yeah, and if you missed it, you can't do a replay, and here you can. Just when you wanted to, answer nature's call, you missed the wicket, that you were waiting for.
Yeah.
So Rahul, I won't take more of your time. I know, your time is at a premium, and I want to take this moment to thank you once again, Rahul, for coming on this channel and speaking to our viewers. Thanks a lot, Rahul. Thank you for taking all your time.
Thank you, Joby. It was a pleasure. And I'll tell you, I can speak and speak and speak. So this 15-minute format of Joby's has